again, most of you know what I'm talking about, but if you've ever been here to Baton Rouge, here to the ministry, you know that right next door is the Mall of Louisiana. It's a frequented place, as would be overly obvious. I drive past it literally every single day. And we had a shooting to take place there yesterday in the food court. About, I think it was 1:30 or something like that in the afternoon, so right around lunchtime when there was obviously people there. Now, I'll just say this. There are two schools in very close proximity to the mall, and my boys attend one of those schools. And, of course, it's right here close to the ministry. When you get a text message from the school knowing what's going on, and then you get that message, that notification, that alert saying, the school is on lockdown and the campus is on lockdown, no one is allowed to leave and no one is allowed to come in. As a parent, I've never quite faced this before in this capacity, but that thought comes across your mind, the almost helpless reality. I actually can't get to my kids right now. Like, I can't, they won't let me on campus. I can't drive to my kids' school and get them. They're on lockdown. Now, the school handled it amazingly, and the kids were relatively unscathed. There's not really anything humorous about this, but I'll throw something somewhat humorous in, Dad. Noah, my 10-year-old, he comes home. I figured it had to do with him. He comes home and he was just not happy because he said they made me get in a closet for an hour and sit, and I had to scrunch up close to my classmates. And he's like, I don't know if any of them showered. And I'm like, son, you kind of missed the whole point. So thank the Lord, because my boys were relatively unscathed. Let's put it that way. They were not emotionally in much duress. And I thank the school for having those protocols. But getting back to the point, Dad, there was a shooting that our pathetic reporters don't like to call and say what it is, and our leadership really ought to use terminology that's more accurate. Instead of just saying two sides, they should have said what it was, and it was two gangs, to be honest with you. It would be nice if they would just cut to the chase. There were multiple victims, and what's really sad is you had some high schoolers, some seniors that from another parish that had like a senior skip day. They're about to the end of their school career, and they were involved in this as far as being victims. One of them actually passed away. And I think two others are in the hospital, obviously, and there were several other victims. And when something like this happens in your backyard, you wake up to it. We forget about that these things happen until they happen. Literally, they inject themselves right into your daily routine, where you go, where you are, in fact, impacting your family, your community. And what I want to say is, it got me I was very angry yesterday over this. Very angry. The thought that these morons went into a mall, that's too nice of a word, but I can't use the word that I want to use, but that they went into a mall carrying these firearms and got into an argument, and then felt that they were entitled to pull out firearms and start shooting and spraying bullets in a mall food court on a Thursday afternoon. I wish I had the ability to teleport back to that moment. I wish I had the bulletproof superpowers of Superman, because I would have knocked all of them upside their heads. These people are disgusting. Absolutely pathetic. These are criminals. And ladies and gentlemen, here's what really made me realize. First of all, made me realize we need to support our law enforcement more than ever. Our law enforcement. Not eating, and I'm not talking about, and I'm taking a lot of time here, but I got to get off my chest. Not just let's have them prepared to respond. The shooting happens, and then you've got thank the Lord they were there, but you've got all of these police officers present. It's like, you know something? Had they been there present beforehand, wouldn't have happened. Here's my point. Law enforcement is the best deterrent that we can have. And I would like to see in our towns and cities that law enforcement becomes more aggressive towards these criminals, these groups, and these gangs. They don't care about life. They don't care about anything. They're self-centered, they're entitled, they're criminals, and they're hardened. The only thing that these people understand is judgment. Judgment. And I hope you're pulling up Ecclesiastes, because that's exactly the scripture that we need to read in this. But to our law enforcement, we really need to have aggressive tactics. And I know that that became very unpopular under the last administration. And that's partly what got me so angry yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, is because I know that our law enforcement was having to tiptoe and be compromised because of the ridiculous, stupid, moronic, idiotic narrative of the last administration that overtook our country, that handcuffed law enforcement. It's ridiculous. Police presence is needed more than ever, and they should be aggressive and going after. There should not be one group or gang that exists that isn't familiar with what a SWAT raid is. They should all be taken care of. The other thing, to our district attorneys, you need to grow up, do your job that you were elected for, and start prosecuting these people. You better prosecute. District attorneys have a big responsibility. If you let them off, then they go right back. Our legal system needs to do what it's there to do, and that is to prosecute. Now, I know there has to be evidence. I get the whole due process. I'm all for it. But the prosecution needs to be there. Stop letting them off. And then to our judges. Our court system has been given a lot of responsibility in this nation. A lot. You've got the courts determining so much about our lives. Judges need to do exactly what they're put on the bench to do, and that is to sentence, to pass judgment, that which is right according to the law. I'm not going to go into that. But Dad, we've got to wake up, and the last thing I'm going to say, because again, I've been going for a long time here, but you know something? Now I want you to listen to what I'm about to say. Yesterday's event made me realize there really is such a thing as gun control. And we need more gun control. Now here's what I mean by that. If you have more law-abiding citizens, men and women who own, have, and know how to use a firearm, they could take control of a situation like yesterday very quickly. We need good people, law-abiding citizens exercising their Second Amendment right to carry a firearm. That won't cause more crime. That will deter more crime. I'm serious. That's the type of gun control that we need to be talking about, is what can come of good people that have firearms, that know how to use them, that will use them to control a situation that gets out of hand quickly until police can arrive. Now, these are very opinionated statements, I understand, and they're coming from me. And I'm going to yield the floor because I want Dad to share his thoughts. But ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening. I just needed to kind of vent and get this off my chest. But it's more than that. It's time to take action, because the last group of people is the politicians who pander. They pander to a party